Have you ever pondered what happens when you simply disappear from someone's life? I don't mean to back off slightly, I mean to completely disappear. No calls, no texts, no contact. Imagine how they would truly feel in a society where people often take others for granted. Let's change the script and make them disappear. I can assure you that their entire world would collapse. Welcome to the most significant. We'll explore 9 intense emotional stages that people experience when you simply disappear. By the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the most powerful action is to walk away and never look back, if you're ready to discover your worth, or if you're ready to make them miss you like never before. If you've ever been in a relationship or been in a situation where someone has gotten too comfortable with treating you like an option, this video is for you. Please leave a comment below using the following phrases. By the end of this, you won't ever be an option again, so I'm done being one. If you're ready to permanently change their perception of you, watch this video through to the very end, as there's an additional emotional stage they'll go through that you won't want to miss. Now, let's get first. The sting of rejection began. The sting of rejection. This is where it all starts. They thought you'd always be there, never leave. You worked hard, planned, showed concern, and were always there until you weren't. When you disappear, it's like hitting them with a brick they didn't see coming. You've probably heard the saying, "You never know what you have until it's gone," and that's exactly what happens when you disappear. Let me clarify. When you leave someone's life, it's not just about being physically absent. It's about taking away everything you stood for, including comfort, validation, and the ability to always be available. They feel rejected, but it's not a superficial rejection. Rather, it's a deep personal sting because they realize they don't control you for the first time. They don't like to acknowledge this, but once they know someone will always be there, they begin to treat you like a safety net, making you an option rather than a priority. They felt they could take you for granted, but when you disappeared, you pulled that safety net right out from under them, and that's when the panic starts. They find themselves questioning, how did I allow this to occur? What caused me to lose control? The pain of rejection strikes. The true irony is that they took your affection and presence for granted, assuming you would always be there no matter what they did. Perhaps they even believed they were doing you a favor by having you around. How did I lose control, especially when you were emotionally available to me? They believe they're giving you crumbs, but in reality, you've been the one keeping the relationship together. You can't give them warning, tell them you're leaving, give them an ultimatum, or ask for their attention if you want to make them feel rejected. Disappearing without explanation not only hits them harder, forcing them to reflect on their actions, but also communicates that you've had enough disrespect. When you walk away, don't look back. They will feel the rejection, and trust me, it will hit them in ways they never anticipated. The person they thought they had control over, the one who always stuck around no matter what, has just left the building. Let them deal with the aftermath. Number 2, the void of missing you. After the pain of rejection subsides, they begin to feel a different kind of emptiness. They probably told themselves that they wouldn't mind if you left, that if they did, they'd just move on. However, what happens when you truly vanish? They begin to feel a void, and it's not just any void, but the kind of emptiness that gnaws at them. They go about their days doing the same things they always do, but something is missing. It's then that they realize you were the one who gave their lives purpose. You gave them the energy, warmth, emotional stability, and stability. Without you, everything feels bland. You see, when someone takes you for granted, they assume you're just a part of the background. They assume that the dynamic between the two of you is replaceable. But here's the truth. No one else brings what you did to their life. They might try to fill the void with someone else, but it's never the same. You brought a unique energy, one that made their life easier, more enjoyable, and more fulfilling. The void grows bigger with every passing day. Maybe they thought they could distract themselves with someone new or with their friends. Maybe they thought they could focus on work or throw themselves into hobbies to get over you. But guess what? That void stays there, reminding them of what they've lost. The void is a constant presence, eating away at them because they never thought they'd feel this way about you. Here's the irony. They didn't appreciate you when they had you. They thought they could do better, or perhaps they thought you'd always be around. But the moment you leave, everything changes, and they start missing the little things. The more they realize they can't access you, the more the void grows every time they think of you and try to reach out, only to find no answer. You made them feel understood through your conversations and laughter. They suddenly crave the small, everyday moments, but you're no longer there to provide them. When you disappear, make sure they can't find you. Ban them from social media, delete their number, and prevent casual checks, traces of you. It's hard to appreciate what you have until it's gone, so let them miss you. What you brought to their lives will become clearer as they feel that void. Number 3. Overwhelming curiosity. At this point, their curiosity overwhelms them, leaving them completely lost. This is their main concern: where, what, and with whom. After losing contact with you, they become obsessed with finding out what's going on in your life. There's nothing more unsettling than not knowing what's going on with someone you once knew. They'll be looking at your Instagram, which makes this step much more dramatic, because they don't know how old social media is. Facebook, TikTok, and all platforms give people an idea of your activities. But the worst part is that you're not providing them with anything. You've gone quiet, with no posts, articles, or updates. Nothing, and it makes them crazy. This is due to their fear of the unknown, which causes their minds to flood with questions as soon as you depart. This is when their insecurity sets in, and they begin to wonder if you've moved on, if you're seeing someone else, or if they are better off without you. They become fixated on finding answers, unable to cope with the uncertainty. It's a sad sight to see someone who thought they didn't need you now going out of their way to find out what you're doing, but they'll be too proud to admit they care. At this point, they may ask mutual friends about you. Curiosity is a powerful emotion. When someone can't get the answers they want, their mind fills in the gaps. They'll start imagining you with someone else, imagining you happier, more fulfilled without them. And that thought eats away at them day by day. It turns from curiosity into an obsession. And here's the best part: the less they know, the more they want to know. You become the one thing they can't stop thinking about to fuel their curiosity. You need to become a ghost. Go completely off the grid. Don't post anything that could give them clues about your life. Let them wonder. Let them stew in their own thoughts, trying to figure out what's happening with you every time they pick up their phone to check on you and find nothing. It'll drive them closer to the edge. You hold the power now, and their curiosity is your biggest asset. Don't give them answers, give them silence. Number 4, deep self-reflection. Now we're entering the dangerous territory for them, that is. This is where the self-reflection kicks in, and it's not pretty after days or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing. They finally turn inward. They start asking themselves the hard questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? The regret starts creeping in, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. Here's the reality. People don't like to admit when they've made mistakes. It's human nature, but when you disappear, you force them to confront those mistakes, head on without you, there to reassure them or smooth things over. They're left to face their own behavior. And it's not a fun experience. They start replaying every interaction in their mind, questioning whether they could have done something differently. They remember the times. Your texts were ignored by the times. They dismissed your emotions, the times they made you feel like you were an afterthought. And it hits them hard, because deep down they know they had a good thing going, but that they took it for granted. Now they're stuck with their own thoughts, and those thoughts are brutal. This stage is especially powerful because it's internal. They can't blame you anymore. You're not around to argue with or to make excuses for them. The only person they can blame is themselves. And that's a tough pill to swallow. The self-reflection gets deeper as time goes on. And the more they reflect, the more they realize how much they messed up. The guilt builds, and they start wishing they could go back in time and do things differently. But it's too late for that now. During this stage, don't reach out. Don't try to explain why you left or make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own. Self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize that they were the reason things went wrong. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Number 5. The urge to pursue you. Now that they've spent enough time in self-reflection, something shifts inside them. They go from questioning themselves to wanting you back. The tables have turned. You were once the one who put in all the effort, who cared, who pursued. But now it's their turn. The urge to pursue you becomes overwhelming. They can't stop thinking about. You can't stop wanting to reach out. Can't stop wondering if it's too late to make things right. They'll start sending those "I've been thinking about" you texts. They'll like your old Instagram posts, maybe even comment on something to see if you respond. They might send a late-night message after a few drinks, hoping to rekindle what was lost. Here's the thing, they're chasing you. Now they've gone from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back, and this is where you hold all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but you don't need to respond. In fact, you shouldn't let them feel the desperation. Let them wonder if you've moved on. The more they pursue, the more they'll realize that they've lost control of the situation. They no longer hold the upper hand, and that drives them crazy when they start chasing. Don't give in the moment you respond. The power shifts back to them. You've put in too much work to earn your value back, so now is not the time to give it up. Allow them to come after you, but don't reward them for their efforts. In this situation, quiet is your best weapon. Let them feel frustrated at wanting something they can't have. The struggle is at number 6. The interplay between relief and regret. When you initially disappear, they may experience a fleeting sense of relief. It's a moment of freedom when they tell themselves, "I finally don't have to deal with them anymore," and they may even feel good about it. However, there's a catch to that so-called freedom. It's an illusion. It seems thrilling at first, but it's fleeting and superficial. They go out, hang out with their friends, swipe right a few times, and for a brief while they believe everything will be all right. But as soon as they're by themselves, sitting in their quiet apartment or browsing through their phone, they start to feel regret because they realize that freedom without you is really emptiness, and that the people they believed could replace you are only fleeting distractions. Drinking salt water feels like a remedy when you're thirsty, but it only makes you more frantic and dehydrated. I regret, furthermore, people frequently believe that moving on will be as simple as finding someone new in today's world of casual dating and hookups, but this isn't the case. They quickly come to the realization that a quick fix or a pointless fling cannot replace someone who provided them with emotional stability and a genuine connection, and this realization can be devastating. Allow them to experience this freedom. Number 7. Don't hurry back in when they start to feel bad. Instead, Let them sit in that empty space they thought would feel great. Keep in mind that the relief they first experience is fleeting, and your absence will come back to haunt them in unexpected ways. The urge to play the game. The desire to play the game. Once regret sets in, they panic and attempt to control the situation, but they're unsure of how to do so. They try to play games and start acting distant on purpose to make you jealous by posting pictures of themselves with other people that make it look like they're happy without you, or they post a cryptic status about moving on, or a selfie that's a little too hard. The problem is that you're not playing the game anymore. You've outgrown the games, and you're not even aware of their petty attempts to elicit a reaction. People believe that manipulating you with jealousy or by playing hard to get will cause you to chase after them, but what happens when you stop chasing? Subtle jabs, passive-aggressive, exaggerated social media posts no longer work because you're not giving them the attention they want or using their childish tactics, which drives them insane. When they lose self-control, they find themselves fumbling for something they can no longer control. Don't engage, ignore the cryptic posts, and don't react to the photos. Their game only works if you play it. The moment you stop responding is the moment they realize they have no power over you. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. When silent, silence is one of your most powerful tools. Your presence and texts carry more weight than your words, allowing them to focus solely on their own thoughts. This is where things become challenging for them, as the heavy and unbearable silence prompts them to question everything. They reminisce about the times they ignored your calls or were too busy to respond to your texts. Now, they would do anything to hear from you. Silence is terrible for someone who is used to having control. They expect you to reach out and ask what's wrong and beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear and they have to sit there in silence wondering if they've lost you forever? Every minute without a word from you feels like a year, and the longer it goes, the more anxious they get. Messages, calls, and notifications provide instant satisfaction. Everyone wants a response immediately, and when you don't provide it, they become agitated. They are accustomed to the back and forth and disagreements in a relationship, but they also expect silence. Since silence is deafening, let it be your strength. Don't break it or justify yourself. Instead, let them suffer the consequences of their own behavior. Your loss will be worse than any argument, they'll realize. The 9th. The fear causes them to feel as if they are crawling back. They have crawled back, and now this is the moment when fear overwhelms them. They were at ease for a long time, assuming you would always be there, but now they're terrified. The fear hits them harder than anything else, and they begin to wonder, what if I lost them forever? What if they've moved on to someone else? The thought of you with someone else sickens them. They no longer worry about their ego, pride, or maintaining their composure. All they can think about now is getting you back. This dread pushes them to take actions they vowed never to take. They may reach out, apologize, plead, or write lengthy texts expressing how they didn't value you previously, but now understand how much you meant. Perhaps they unexpectedly knock on your home in the hopes of getting another chance. The overwhelming fear of losing you forever drives their actions, yet by the time they experience this fear, you've already departed. You've discovered your strength and independence, and you no longer require their assistance. Their fear is genuine, yet when they return, it's already too late. Let them confront the repercussions of their actions. You've already progressed, and they must understand that you are not someone they can ignore. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're already ahead of 99% of people in the world, and you have demonstrated that you are a true Stoic person who seeks depth in wisdom and understanding. The understanding of the attainment of emotional autonomy. Understanding your own emotional independence is the culmination of everything. When you vanish, you're not merely leaving them behind. Rather, you're moving closer to your own freedom, your own emotional clarity. In many relationships, we often become so engrossed in making the other person happy and enhancing our own worth that we neglect our own needs. We often forget that we have the power to walk away and demand better for ourselves. However, once you've vanished and reclaimed your space, you begin to see things clearly. You no longer need their validation. You no longer care what they think, how they feel, or what they want. You've realized that your happiness isn't tied to them, and that's the most powerful thing you can experience. This is your emotional independence, and here's the best part. They feel it too. They realize that you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger now, wiser, more confident. They can sense that you've outgrown them, that you no longer need them to feel complete. At this point, the situation has completely changed. While they remain trapped in their old routines, you've progressed. You've liberated yourself from the cycle of approval, and now their opinion holds no weight. Take charge of your emotional independence. The lesson here is to stop giving people the opportunity to take you for granted and to stop being the person who is always there, regardless of how poorly they treat you, the moment you walk away, the moment you disappear. Don't go back to the old ways. Don't give them the satisfaction of believing they still have control over your happiness. You've moved past that, and that's your biggest victory. If you're prepared to take back your control and cease being an option, everything changes. They will feel it, regret it, and realize they've lost something priceless. Write a comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option," because you're going to become the strongest version of yourself. I'm tired of being an option, as you're on a journey to become the strongest version of yourself. If this video resonated with you or you felt like your perspective changed, think about becoming a member of the channel. This not only enables us to continue producing high-quality content, but also ensures that it is accessible to a wider audience. If membership isn't for you, click the subscribe button. Both options help the channel grow, and I appreciate all of the support. Keep in mind that you are in control. I'll see you in the next video.